Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're stepping into a highly structured, incredibly high-stakes arena. It's a place where complex ideas aren't just tossed around, they're built up and then torn down with absolute surgical precision. If you've ever wondered how formal policy debate actually works, well, you are in the exact right place. We're going to decode the rules, the roles, and the strategies that completely govern this fascinating intellectual battlefield.
So, picture this. You're in a room. There's just two teams and one judge. A clock is ticking down, and in front of you is the ultimate challenge. You have to systematically break down your opponent's case, fact by fact, piece of logic by piece of logic, before your time runs out. The pressure is immense, the cognitive load is, well, it's staggering, and that silence in the room right before the first speech is palpable. How exactly do you do that without the whole thing just evolving into a chaotic shouting match? Well, it all comes down to a ruthlessly efficient, carefully designed framework.
To figure this out, we're pulling back the curtain on Chapter 3 of our source text, a comprehensive guide called Debate101. We're diving straight into the debate process to learn the exact rules of the game, right from the foundational playbook used to train competitive debaters.
Okay, let's dive into this playbook. We'll be covering 1. The debate arena, 2. The affirmative burden, 3. The 5 stock issues, 4. The negative strategy, and finally, 5. The bread and butter.
Section 1. The debate arena. Let's look at the setup and personnel.
What makes this format so incredibly intense is this number right here, 4. There are literally only 4 debaters in the room, 2 teams, the affirmative and the negative, with exactly 2 people on each team. And listen, there is absolutely no hiding in the back row here. There's no bench to rotate players when you get tired. Every single one of these 4 debaters is in the hot seat, and they're required to stand up and deliver all 3 distinct types of presentations during the round.
Within this arena, the clock is the absolute master. Every debate follows this exact, punishing sequence. First up, we have the constructives, which are 8 minutes long. This is where the core arguments are built, starting with the first affirmative constructive. And immediately after they speak, they face a grueling 3-minute cross-examination from the opposing team, where they're forced to defend their logic on the fly. Then, the negative gives their 8-minute constructive, gets cross-examined, and so on, until all 4 speakers have presented. Once that massive foundation of evidence is laid out, the round shifts gears into the 5-minute rebuttals. These just fire off in rapid succession. There's no new evidence allowed here at all. It's pure synthesis and clash, demanding that debaters think on their feet and distill their absolute best arguments as the clock runs down.
So within this ticking clock, it really boils down to a fundamental binary. The affirmative team has a distinct, proactive goal. They have to prove that the current system is fundamentally broken and desperately needs to change. The negative team, well, their entire reason for existing in that room is to defend the status quo and block that change at every single turn.
Section 2. The affirmative burden. Let's talk about kicking off the round.
So the crucial point here is that the affirmative has what's called the burden of proof. Think of them exactly like a prosecutor or a plaintiff in a legal trial. They're the ones bringing the charges against the current state of the world. Because they carry this monumental burden of proving that an entirely new direction is necessary, the rules actually give them a structural advantage. The affirmative gets to speak first, which lets them frame the entire debate right out of the gate. And they get the final word by speaking last, giving them the ultimate closing argument. Now, when the affirmative stands up for that very first 8-minute speech, they use qualified evidence to build what is called a prima facie case. Basically, think of this Latin term as building a house that can stand completely on its own at first glance. Their speech absolutely must contain a proven problem, evidence that the current system is failing, and a specific plan to fix it. If they leave even one of these elements out, the house collapses before the storm of debate even really begins.
Section 3. The 5 stock issues. Time to look at the weapons and battlegrounds.
The first stock issue is significance. Look, you can't propose a major policy change just because it'd be mildly convenient, right? The affirmative must use qualified evidence to prove to the judge that a massive, tangible problem is happening in the world right now. Whether that's an impending economic collapse or some devastating environmental harm, they have to make the judge care deeply about the stakes.
Next up is inherency. Now, this is a fascinating hurdle. The affirmative has to prove that the status quo, the present system as it operates today, has a built-in structural barrier preventing it from fixing the problem, meaning the problem won't just magically solve itself over time. Without a drastic new intervention, the harm is absolutely guaranteed to continue.
Then we have solvency. It's not enough to just point out a burning fire. You got to bring the right kind of water. The affirmative must present a very specific plan that actually falls within the rules of the broad debate resolution, a concept known as topicality. But most importantly, they have to present hard evidence proving that their specific plan will actually solve the exact harms they've just spent time identifying.
When we pull back, we can see the complete battlefield framework that governs the round. These are the 5 stock issues: topicality, significance, inherency, solvency, and finally, disadvantages, which basically asks if the plan causes worse side effects than the problem it's trying to solve. The crazy part? The affirmative has to successfully defend their ground on all of these fronts simultaneously to win. It is a massive, massive undertaking.
Section 4. The negative strategy. Organizing the defense.
The negative team essentially has 2 separate, highly specialized toolboxes for their defense. The first is on-case arguments. This is your direct hand-to-hand combat where the negative attacks the affirmative's specific claims of significance, inherency, or solvency. They're essentially arguing, hey, your problem isn't actually that bad, the current system is already managing it, or your proposed plan just simply won't work. Then the second toolbox contains off-case arguments. This is where the negative shifts the battlefield entirely. They might introduce those disadvantages we just mentioned, arguing the plan triggers terrible new side effects, or they might drop counterplans, offering a completely different, much better solution. They can even invoke high-level debate theory or philosophical critiques to argue the affirmative's entire approach is fundamentally flawed or breaks the rules.
Section 5. The bread and butter. Let's talk essential foundations.
Our source text provides us with a really vital piece of advice for anyone looking to step into this world. It says, typically, in local tournaments, novice debate, and most JV debate competitions, stock issue debating is the bread and butter of what happens in most rounds. Basically, before you can run out there with complex theoretical strategies or abstract philosophical off-case arguments, you really have to master the basics. Knowing how to build up and tear down these stock issues is the absolute essential foundation. It's the required vocabulary for anyone wanting to navigate this space successfully.
Understanding this rigorous framework completely changes how you listen to an argument, whether it's in a formal debate round, a high-stakes boardroom meeting, or honestly, even just watching the evening news. Every proposed policy change essentially has to prove significance, inherency, and solvency while surviving the onslaught of disadvantages. So, the next time you hear someone propose a massive change to the status quo, ask yourself, will you be the prosecutor ensuring the case is completely prima facie, or will you be the defense, ready to systematically tear it down?